Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling more alone than when you started? Ever sat in a room full of people and still felt like a ghost? You're not antisocial, you're just awake. You see, for most people, socializing is like breathing, natural, necessary, unconscious. But for those who think deeply, feel sharply, and observe silently, social life feels more like acting on a crowded stage. Every interaction becomes performance. Small talk becomes exhausting, and silence becomes sacred. You notice things others don't: the forced laughter, the fake enthusiasm, the hierarchy of attention, who gets heard, who gets ignored. You sense when words are just filler, when praise is manipulation, when kindness hides strategy. So you pull back, not because you hate people, but because you can no longer pretend. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." He understood what few dare to admit, that solitude isn't a curse, it's a filter. It removes the noise, the distraction, the masquerade. It brings you back to truth, because modern social life isn't about connection, it's about performance. We've replaced presence with posing, intimacy with image, understanding with dopamine hits. And the more intelligent you are, the more sensitive you become to this charade. You start craving silence, not as escape, but as clarity. Not because you're cold, but because you're burning on the inside with too much awareness. Highly perceptive people feel the weight of 1,000 unsaid truths in a single glance. They can hear the loneliness behind the laughter, see the insecurity beneath the confidence. So they seek refuge in solitude, not to run away, but to find what the crowd has buried, the authentic self. You are not broken for choosing quiet. You are not arrogant for craving depth. In a world addicted to noise, silence is an act of rebellion, and sometimes the smartest thing you can do is walk away. But walking away isn't always peaceful, because the moment you choose solitude, the world resists. People call you distant, cold, self-absorbed. They mistake your quiet for arrogance, your depth for sadness. But it's not sadness, it's honesty. You see, most social circles aren't built on truth. They're built on comfort, on mutual illusions, on unspoken agreements to never go too deep, to never challenge the surface. So when you start asking real questions, why are we pretending? Does anyone else feel lost? Is this connection or just proximity? They panic. Because deep thinking is a threat to shallow living. Your presence becomes disruptive, not because you're loud, but because your silence speaks. You become the mirror, and mirrors are dangerous in a world full of masks. So they try to fix you, pull you back in, invite you to parties, tell you to lighten up, to just have fun. But what they don't understand is you're not looking down on joy. You're just tired of forced joy, of pretending that everything is fine when it's not, of laughing at things that aren't funny, of nodding when you want to scream. You've outgrown the performance, and that scares people, because if you're no longer playing the role, then maybe they don't have to either. Maybe they've been lonely in the crowd too. Maybe they've been performing too. But change is terrifying. It's easier to call you broken than to question themselves. So they shame your solitude. They label your distance, and you start to wonder, is something wrong with me? But here's the truth. If the cost of belonging is pretending, then maybe it's not belonging at all. You're not abandoning connection, you're searching for real connection, one that doesn't require a mask. One that welcomes silence, that honors depth, that doesn't punish you for feeling too much or thinking too far. And those connections exist. Rare, yes, but real, and worth the wait. Because the moment you stop apologizing for your depth, you start attracting those who can swim. They say humans are social animals, but what they forget is this. Not all socialization is nourishing. In fact, much of it drains you, drains your energy, your focus, your time, your sense of self, and worst of all, your attention. You sit through endless conversations about things that don't matter with people you don't truly know just to avoid seeming rude. You smile when you're tired, laugh when you're empty, pretend when your soul begs for honesty, but smart people begin to notice the cost. They see how shallow talk eats into deep thought, how performing for approval erodes authenticity, and how being constantly available to everyone leaves nothing for yourself. So they start to withdraw, not out of hatred, not out of bitterness, but out of self-preservation, a quiet rebellion against noise, a conscious choice to reclaim peace. Schopenhauer believed that solitude was not just a preference, but a necessity for depth, that only in stillness can the mind reflect clearly, that only in silence can true individuality emerge. He wasn't glorifying isolation, he was protecting the sacred space where thought, art, and selfhood are born. So when you see someone walking alone, don't pity them, don't assume they're lost. They might be walking toward themselves, toward clarity, toward freedom, because in a world that constantly demands your presence, your absence becomes a statement. It says, I will not be consumed. I choose stillness over spectacle. I choose substance over noise. And ironically, it's this silence that often speaks the loudest. Have you ever wondered why the deepest thinkers often walk alone? It's not arrogance, it's not depression, it's something else, a sensitivity to noise. When your mind is wired to ask deeper questions, shallow environments feel like poison. You can't fake laughter at trivial jokes. You can't pretend to care about gossip. You can't smile through small talk when your soul craves meaning. And so you retreat. You withdraw, not to escape life, but to see it more clearly. This solitude is not loneliness. It's clarity. It's silence that sharpens perception. It's distance that deepens understanding. It's space that lets the mind breathe. Smart people don't abandon others out of superiority. They abandon the performance, the exhausting theater of pretending to be normal. They reject the emotional taxation of endless social calibration. They choose reality over appearances, depth over distraction, truth over harmony. Because when you start to think for yourself, you stop fitting in. And when you stop fitting in, you begin to see just how much conformity costs your soul. This realization is not glamorous, it's isolating, it's painful, but it's also the birthplace of something rare, inner freedom, the freedom to say no, to not answer every message, to not join every party, to not smile when you don't feel like it, to not explain your solitude to those who fear it. That kind of freedom doesn't come easy. It comes with silence, with discomfort, with the courage to be misunderstood. Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." In crowds, you wear a mask. In solitude, you meet your face. So here's the question. Are you truly yourself, or just a reflection of what others expect you to be?